intimacy. What do you consider that? What do you consider intimacy?
Whew. Boy, right to the big ones. All right, intimacy.
Yeah, you said work on our intimacy. So you said starting a new job. It's a little slow, so you get to enjoy that. So because you're working on your intimacy.
Yes.
So I was like, what is that like? What? Well, I mean, what intimacy we work on today?
We spent more time talking, just a little bit.
That's true. That's true.
Bit.
We did. We had a.
We
good,
honestly
good
we had
talk
time
today.
to. Intimacy. So we had time to get to know each other a little bit more, but not just in like the bedroom sense, because that I also think that is intimacy very much so. Unfortunately,
I'm sure you do.
If that's all you focus on, your relationship soon will peter out, because it can't be sustained on just intimacy in the bedroom, sexual attraction, lust.
So you would say that intimacy is more than what is in the bedroom.
Yes, okay. Yes, very much so. In fact, I would go so far to say that if you don't have intimacy, your relationship will not last.
And that's what you mean, like intimacy out of the bedroom, or just what do you like? That's what
I mean, when I say intimacy, I mean like, all right. So bedroom intimacy obviously is the first thing we all think of, like, yeah. But no, honestly, it's intimacy of the mind, intimacy of the conversation, of taking the time to get to know someone, intimacy of we'll go down that road, but getting to know like, someone beyond what you let people see on social media. I think that would be the best way.
Okay.
Like if I can know everything I need to know about you from looking at your social media or YouTube channel or your Twitter or your TikTok, then to me that's just surface level. Like, because there's no way I can know everything about you just through there.
Okay.
So the idea, it's almost
so being vulnerable with your partner is a form of intimacy.
Letting your partner see someone who the rest of the world doesn't get to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Being vulnerable, breaking down some of the barriers.
Yes.
Some of your macho man kind of things, like when you go hang out with the boys, the things that you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna, be emotional about this. And I'm not sure if the guys still do that nowadays. I think that men are starting to talk a little bit more and stuff. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think that intimacy is definitely beyond what is in the bedroom. I think that getting to know their fears and their worries and their thoughts and their goals, I think that is part of being intimate. Because even you have some couples who don't really know like each other's goals. Like, hey, what are the things, like, what are you working on, or what do you want to do in the next year, in the next 6 months? Like, I don't even want to go long-term goal, or things like that. But you have couples that are very surface level and that choose to be so. But I think that then you lack the opportunity to have somebody. You lack the opportunity to have somebody really see you, see your vulnerability from the outside, and maybe also help you navigate past that, past your own self, because a lot of times we stop our own selves from growing, right? So I feel like with you and I, one of the things that I'm grateful that I was able to do was to allow you to love me the way that you did, because I could see me growing into that. And I felt like the more vulnerable I was with you and the more you accepted me, the more my self-esteem grew, and the more I can like add on to my goal, chart. Like, I want to do this, another competition, I'm going back to school, it was all of that. It was like, I knew I could do it, those were the goals, but I also knew that they were a lot more challenging alone. So having somebody that is willing, that sees that and say, okay, that's what you want to do, all right, cool. Like, if I'm here with you, then one of my goals is to make sure that you accomplish your goal. And I loved you. I love you, but I
Yeah, we're talking
I
like,
fell in love with you then, you
yeah.
know, like I know that's when I was like, yeah, he is a keeper, you know, because if it was something that was on my to-do list, it was on your to-do list. Like, as a matter of fact, if it was on my to-do list, you take it and put it first on your to-do list, and then you put the rest of your stuff behind.
Well, but
Beneath your mind,
yeah, I did do that. But after like 5 years and a little bit of therapy and the conversation that we've had, 'cause I've been in therapy with you for 5 years, whether I knew it or not. But like when I think about it, like one of the reasons why it was easy for me to push you to always do what you wanted to do was because I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was a safe place. Like in my mind, I was like, I've got a job, I'm good, I'm doing my thing, and I'm supporting you. I'm like, I'm not beating you. I don't want you to have any of my kids. Like we're just doing our thing, and I was like, all right, I'm great. I'm glad you had a plan. Well, I mean, there's no pressure, is what I'm saying. Like I wasn't like, yo, I need you to have a child now. Like I want 1 year in, I want 3 in the next 4. Like what? No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But I mean, it was easy for me to hide behind you and be like, I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna push you. Thank God you know what you want to do, because I still was trying to figure it out. Like I was still trying to figure out what I really want to do. Like, yes, IT is great and it pays the bills. However, I'm not passionate about it long enough to do another 30 years or something like that. Just no. So having you and you knowing what you wanted to do, like you were doing your competition, you were in school, getting your master's, just doing you, it was great because I could focus on go to work, come back, support my baby. I didn't have to think about what we were doing. I didn't have to plan anything because your schedule was always just like, all right, we're doing this, we're doing that. And I was like, all right, run, go. And in my own way, it was a way for me to hide, not have to be like, all right, my plan is to do this, and now I want to do this. Because you're the type, if I told you I want to do this, you'd be like, I'm on your team 100%, go baby, go. And I'd be like, all right, cool. And a lot of times I would get like halfway or 75%, I'd be like, I'm no longer interested. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Well, see, the thing is, so it's interesting that you said that, right? Like when you said you didn't know what you wanted to do. See, I was aware that, okay, in a relationship, you have your goal, he has his goals. And I remember like the first year I was like, okay, what is it that you want to do? Because I want to know, like, because this is what I'm doing and this is what I want to do in the next 2 years. And I want to make sure that I am able, to give you enough of my time to do what you want to do. So I'm doing what I want to do. I feel like you had, you were still really recovering from your discharge from the Army. And so you were still really in that in processing that. And I say that because you had a lot of things that you thought you wanted to do and you would kind of start and then, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I will put my, some of my things on hold, like, okay, cool, we're going to do this, or I want to do this. And then you kind of lose like the flame or lose the steam of like doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested. I would be only interested, like, I'm project oriented, but it's like a short sprint, like maybe 2 to 3 weeks, which unfortunately is really bad.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that I took that opportunity, because I don't know how to be stagnant. I don't know, I'm learning to now relax and chill, However, 5 years ago, it was like, okay, well, this and that. So when I would be sitting on the bench for 2 months waiting on you to get your project, or like, okay, what are we doing? It would give me the courage, or like not even the courage, like the opportunity, right? I'm like, okay, cool. He's, still trying to figure that one out. So let me go ahead and I'm going to start this. So then I would, pick up new projects and sign us up for things. And, but I also feel like because we were constantly doing projects, we got the opportunity to really see each other, committed to something and seeing it to the end. And yeah, I like how you show up for me. And even though you consider it like, hey, I was doing it because I was hiding behind you.
Well, I mean, I didn't really realize that in like only the past year and a half when we really kind of broken down. As I've slowly been, or as we slowly kind of worked through this, some of it in therapy, and then also just us talking about and that's one of the things I always liked about you is that you had a plan, and then and then as we got closer to our wedding, and after the engagement, and over the past 2 years, let's say, we really started looking more future focused. Like, who are we? What do we stand for? And those conversations, I mean, like, you want to have an intimate conversation, ask someone their principles, and then double down and be like, and why, and keep asking that why question until they're like, until they've either completely let you know, or they're like, I don't know why, but that's as far down as I can connect that bad boy. And so, like, and having questions, like, or having those type of conversations over the past 5 years, and then also we have some of our friends as well that we've talked to, different couples or individual one-on-ones and so on. I mean, that to me was intimacy. Each time was always forcing me more to look at myself and kind of ask that question, like, all right, what do you want? Who are you? What are your principles? And those are things that you've always asked. You've always kind of not demanded, but like, you ask questions that shine light into the darkness. Even if you don't want to talk about it. And yeah, I still have some of my depression at the time from getting out of the service and so on. Because I was lost. I didn't really know. I mean, I knew who I was, but who was I without the authority behind my rank and who I used to be, and because I hadn't really made that commitment to, like, all right, I'm a civilian now. That old way of thinking is gone. I'm still trying to operate as if a lot of that stuff still, like, the old way of moving and doing business was still effective, and it wasn't. And I was stagnant because I came from an environment where I was used to not being told what to do, but I would be given projects. And each project, each day was something new. So my ADD, little easily distracted self always could jump from one task to the next to the next. I love having a plan, and then you go knock it out, and then it's over. Next day, something new, but everything.
You had lost the structure,
Yeah,
you needed to figure
yeah.
out how to recreate it, outside. But I also feel like that's when there was some tension between you and I, because I had built a structure around not only with going to school and work, but also because I was competing, and I trusted my structure because it hadn't let me down. It was very, it was intense, but it delivered, and I feel like initially it was like, yeah, cool, I can do this, but then a year down the road, it was like, this is a lot. Like, we're always doing something. We're always up at 5, going to bed by 11, and then there is always something to do. So I know that in that period, it was a little bit tough. You know what I mean? For us, because I feel like we didn't really get to date at that time, right? It's I was constantly training. My meals, my life was very strict. I mean, I think people would look at it as strict. I feel like it's the same even today, so I don't know. But
I mean, like we did a lot of tasks. We did a lot of errands. We did, in my mind, because, like, I didn't realize this until my wife started making jokes about this. Probably like when we started going to counseling for our relationship, and also to get through for some of the problems in our relationship, and premarital counseling. And you would be like, look, she's like she would literally be like, all right, I'm going to give you a new mission. I'm going to change your mission. Like, when she started speaking, like, cause I have a good friend of mine.
I remember that, yeah.
I have a good friend of mine. He's currently serving as a major in the Army. And he would give us counseling, and he would put things in those terms, because I seeked his advice. When I was younger, I always gave him advice, and now is his time to give it back. And so it helped. But when they started talking to me in military terms, my brain, was able to pick it up, and suddenly things made more sense. And I was like, all right, I was able to kind of get our mission. Because like when we were together, it was like we always had a mission for the day. I knew what Michelle wanted to do. Michelle knew what she needed to do. I could get in, get out, and so it's easy to kind of be like, I'm a good partner. I'm a good support. By the whole time, I'm pushing her forward, because I don't want to ask me the question, hey, Rocky, what do you really want to do? Who are you? What do you stand for? Like she knew who I was, but that the version that I was still carrying with, who I projected, said, my name is Rocky. I stand for A, B, C, and D, was still a version that was stuck back, like 2012, time frame. And I hadn't really updated that. I was just carrying out around an old resume, like, this is what I can do, type of thing, not realizing that some of that stuff was out of date and it needed to be, almost like get recertified, bring it back up to standard type thing.
And I think that's really why we're doing this, right? Because it's like, I think that in a partnership, in a relationship, in a marriage, it's understanding that your partner will change, will transition, will grow, and being willing to be there when they are doing that, and being willing to know what that new version is, and so I was very adamant about us, especially when we decided to actually get married and walk down the aisle, in talking through some of those differences. And my biggest thing was, if you acknowledge some of the things, that are slowing us down, or that are causing conflict, or making it difficult to communicate and to get through one another, if we're both able to acknowledge, or at least know that there is a problem, then I knew for sure that we could fix it, because we were just the kind of people that when there was a problem, if we knew what the solution was, we would get it done, And so I think that in partnerships is acknowledging that you're going to have to do work, with your partner, and they might not pick up on things as fast as you are, or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they are not worthy of it, of the patience, of the time, and of maybe figuring out a different way. I mean, we don't have any children, but I see parents that would teach your child a new thing today, and the child would make a mistake again tomorrow, and they say, okay, well, we went over it yesterday, but that method didn't work, so let's try it this way. So it's the same thing with your partner. You have to be willing to be patient, to help them get through, or to work through some of the challenges that they're facing, especially when they are putting in the effort and they are wanting to do so. So some of the things that, we would go through, or, you having to come to some of the recognition, or like realizing, I know it would be painful. Like, it's painful for anybody to say, like, I have to do work. However, I also knew that in a year, you would look back and be like, I'm so glad I did that, because every time when I looked at myself, I felt that way for a lot of the work that I did. So, and I can just assume, not even assume, like, you talk to people and when you don't want to do something, and then you finally do it, in a year from now, you're like, man, I'm so glad I did that. So I knew that you won't. And also because I can think today, like, I know I used to always sit down and be like, yo, if my coach, if I knew, I always knew that I was grateful for the effort and the time that he put in all of the training, and all of the yelling, and all of the beating, because I was a better version of myself, and I was physically, where I wanted to be, and I continue to grow. And that, because he would, like, if there was somebody that I would dislike, it would have been him, because but I loved him so much, and I just knew that. And I loved him because of how much he poured into me, and how much he was always willing. So I knew that if I do the same, you might not like me while you're going through it. That's okay. I don't need you to like me, because I love you and I know you love me. So we'll be okay. You'll always laugh because I'm honest. Because I'm like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to leave? Like, you're not going to go anywhere. So you don't have to like me right now. I give you a hug,
You're not used to, I was not used to your level of like brutal, like tough love, and like when we talk about it now, you're like, Rock, you're like, look, I couldn't tell you then, but look, like, you weren't pulling your weight sometimes as a man, and so, in ways that I needed you. Therefore, I had to play both roles while I helped fix you and help get you where you needed to be emotionally.
Not fix you,
Like, well, not fix. I look at, it's how you say things, not what you say, people. What I meant to say, love, is, as you help me better develop
I understand.
myself.
I understand, because you always say fix me, and I'm like, look, you're like
she's like, you're not broken. You just got some dents and scratches. You gotta buff them out.
Because I could say the same, right? Like, I could say the same. Like, I'm not the same person that you met.
No, you're not.
Like, I've grown a lot.
You're a little softer.
A lot softer.
Okay, a lot softer.
Well, I've done some work.
Like, you've done some work. But I mean, but when I look back at it, like, objectively, I'm extremely humbled by by how much you poured into me. Like, you didn't have to do what you did. And one of the reasons why we work as a couple right now, and the reason why some of our friends say, hey, you guys need to talk about this, a little bit more, is because where we are and what we're doing, because we still don't have this thing perfect. Like, we just got married and we're figuring things out, but we're always talking, we're always communicating. And one of those things is that there's been so many instances, especially for me, where I've been extremely hard-headed and stubborn on things, and where objectively most like if you went by what social media or the world would say, they'd be like, "Oh, get you a new man, like you just go get one down the block, like we're available and we're easy to find." And with the internet, that's true, but you never know what you're gonna get. And instead of you tossing me out or giving up on me, you're like, "No, I am going to help you get over this and do the work."
I'm gonna remind you.
And you would ask me the same question. You would ask me the questions, and and this is what I love about this woman. She would ask me questions she would try to because of her mind, she would ask me it one day, one way, and I'd be like, not working. Next day, all right, Rock, let's try this again, because Jess's approach did not work, and then she would come in, and eventually something would click, and I'd be like, oh, she's like, man, you slow. We're like, all right, we got a stack here. We only got through can we speed it up?
When you say you're slow, the only thing I can think about is our friend D. Murray, she said, short bus shorty. Like, when you take so long to catch up on something, it's just short bus shorty. Anyways,
frequent
I thank God for the patience. That's the one thing that I know that I lacked, and I'm glad that I was able to. I still pray for it, but I was able to be patient. But I was saying earlier, it couldn't have been that easy to just give up, because there were a lot of things that you were, bringing to the relationship.
But my relationship was stubborn, though.
Yeah, I understand it, but my relationship wasn't based on what society wants and what social media wants, because those same people on social media, that are saying this and that, I don't know for sure if they are happy, in their relationships, or they have joy. So my biggest thing, because I remember a couple of times I thought about it, maybe after you watch a video on YouTube, or you read something about relationship, you come down, you're like, okay, we're not compatible, this is not right. I remember God saying, all right, Michelle, you're gonna be a lonely ass bitch, I'm gonna let you know. Excuse my French, but I swear.
And she speaks French.
No, I still remember, I would come down the stairs and be like, I'm gonna take my ass right back upstairs, because because you think about all of the other things that this person is really feeling in your life. Like, you're like, okay, it's not that they don't love me, it's not that they don't care, it's just that they don't understand me. So
I would get so frustrated because she didn't understand me. I was like, you couldn't understand this. The next day, I'm going to do it again. So differently. And I'm very litigious in my mind. I'm very all right, I come up with an entire argument, point by point. And Michelle's like, she'll throw some stuff in there that just make me go, what?
Because I started to realize it was a tick for tack. It was like, okay, well, I did it. Like, you have this before we even sit down to talk, you're like, hold up. I've never met anybody who comes every time prepared with a whole argument, like one of those court arguments, okay?
Your Honor, I would like to point out.
So I was always very intentional about, and the thing we said it the last time we talked, I was very intentional about you understanding, I'm not fighting you. I know I'm a strong person. I'm working on it. I'm not running away from that fact, and I think that's also one of the things that we did, right? I had to tell you a lot about my background and why I am.
Oh yeah.
And why I'm so harsh in my culture. I mean, the average, a lot of the African women, I don't, I know other African women that are very soft, and I envy that, and they're very, what's the word? Very feminine. Their feminine energy. Yeah, it resonates. I mean, it's very poised, and I want that. I love it. However,
I wouldn't be attracted to you if that was you. If that was you, I wouldn't be attracted to her.
But I'm working to have a lot more of that feminine energy.
Yeah,
and I think over the past year, I've worked a lot more on it. My delivery is a lot better. hold you first and I caress you and I touch you before I tell you something that might, make your heart
And
drop.
like touch for me is a big thing. Like if you're gonna give me some bad news, don't tell me from across the room. Don't come in the door yelling and being like, "Babe."
I don't yell.
No, she don't yell.
I don't yell. I'm
she's
just
African. She just
too
talks.
honest. Like,
she's just excited.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "I'm not yelling at you. I'm just excited. Love me." I'm like, just yelled at me. I'm feeling all kinds of cortisol up in here. Just
oh my goodness.
Anyways, it's only been like the past 2 years where we really started to understand like when to really dive in, like what triggers you, and I've been like, "You're yelling at me. You're yelling at me," And Michelle's like, "I'm just talking to you. What do you mean I'm yelling at you?" I'm like, "Well, I can't differentiate,
Yeah,
But you've gotten a lot.
I still have moments where I have to be like, okay, I have to intentionally say, baby, look, in my head, my voice is really low. Okay, like I know you're hearing it up here, but it's really low. But we all have things that we have to work on. That's one of mine, and I take it actually very proudly because it is part of my culture and it's an excitement. Like I love watching African women, like when they're happy, when they're like excited. Oh my God, I love watching like friends, like African friends, when they sit down and they get together. They're loud, they're excited, they are. It's almost as if they can, like if you're celebrating something, it's like they can see your trauma just break down, or they can see your happiness just rise up, like whatever it is. It's amazing.
It's contagious.
Yeah.
Like to hear a room full of African women laughing and having a genuinely good time. There's no tea for tea. Nope.
Yeah. So I genuinely, I take that with pride. Like I like that, but I am working on being a lot more feminine, and a lot more soft, but that doesn't mean that I give away my, because I think everybody has a masculine energy. Like I think even men, I think it's both ways. Men have feminine and the masculine side, and women have the masculine and feminine side as well. It's just that you as a woman, you have your feminine side is supposed to be maybe like a 90%, and maybe you have a 10%, masculine. For me, maybe it's like 70-30, something like that. So I'm trying to get it to like 80-20, and now that I'm not competing, I think that is it's better. I'm not as angry. I'm eating now. I'm eating a lot. Every day. All day. Anyways.
Yeah. But like at the same time, when we talk about intimacy, the part of the reason why you're able to become, if you've gotten better at your intimacy, is one, because we talk about it.
Yeah.
Two, so, and it takes I think it takes a lot for a woman to come to a man and say, "Look, babe, I'm not good at being intimate," because I've heard girls have conversations where they're just like, "I'm not intimate, I'm not really intimate, I don't really do all that girly shit," and they're like, well, newsflash, like a guy generally is attracted to that girly stuff, and the fact that you were cool enough to be like, "Look, babe, I'm not really good at this, however, I'm gonna work on it, I'm gonna do better." I thought that was adorable. I liked it. And so this is going to be a bit of a deviation, because I view you as like such a strong, independent type woman, right? For you to be like, "Hey, there's something wrong with me," or in this case, not wrong with me, but I need your help. And that's really what it comes down to. Anytime you're going to tell a guy, "Hey, I need your help," we're like, we want to get our tool set and we want to fix it. We're Mr. Fix It Man, and we're excited because we're geared to like help and do all that. And generally with you, there's very little, and even now, our intimacy has grown and you're now able to tell me more, but she's so used to operating in her mind, like in regards to she's like, "I won't tell you what I'm doing because I'm about it," and she'll just knock stuff out. And women are stronger out of male and female. Just if you guys don't know, I'm telling you, because she would tell me a list. She's like, "Babe, I did this. By the time she's done with her list, I'm exhausted. I'm like, "What'd you do today?" "I worked for 8 hours on the computer, and other things, other sundries, and this lady is like, but she won't talk about it. She's humble in that way at times. I'm like,
just get it done. Nike it up. Just do it. That's my thing, because if I start talking about things, I get lazy. I'm like, man, that's a lot. So I just do it.
And the funny thing is, like if you look at our conventional ways, I'm more feminine and she's more masculine. I was raised with 7 sisters. She was raised with what, 4 brothers?
Yeah.
All right, so 4 brothers and 7 sisters and a German mom. definitely more feminine over here. So it's hilarious in a relationship, and it
I don't
causes.
think he's feminine. He's just more into his emotions. Rocky is he wants to talk.
That's what every man wants to
He
hear.
wants to talk about his emotions. And I'm like, babe, I don't care about your emotions.
She'll be like, yo, she'll be like,
Let's get this thing done.
she'll be like, I'm the girl. You're the guy.
No, I don't say that. I hold his hand, I sit down with him, and we talk about
It's in the eyes. It's in the eyes. I'm telling you. She'll be like, babe, tell me that ain't so.
No, we talk about your emotions, babe.
We do talk about my emotions because I'm
He's
usually
got a lot of them.
I'm just the more emotional one, and you'll be like, I can't believe you would not let.
Excuse me.
And that's what I love about her, because she'll put the emotions aside and be like, seriously, like come on, like we talk about this later. We got stuff to do.
I mean, I don't do a lot of pity parties, so I feel
No.
like if you have one, we have to have one pity party. So if something happened, we talk about it once, we process it, we figure out what's the plan, what is the goal, what are we doing next, and we start executing. And the more you start going into the executing phase, the more you start healing as well. The more you start gaining your strength, the more you start recognizing that wasn't really a failure or whatever. It was literally an opportunity to grow. So it's not that I'm not about emotions and feeling. I'm always about what can we gain. I think a lot of times we want to sit into let's soak into this. For how long? I
was so bad at that. Imagine trying to be all emotional with someone with a roadmap of a discussion. Not literally, but she, in her mind, she's like, all right, we talked about the wine. Here's a little bit of cheese. Now let's get to the goal. And there I am. I'm like, no, I'm still in the wine. I'm still whining. I deserve to whine. I'm like, I've built a mountain here and a wall, and I've got a whole castle on top of my reason and my wine. And this woman is using common sense and logic.
The funny thing is that Rocky, I love you. He was like, I deserve to feel this emotion, and
That's
I deserve.
right. I am privileged to feel as terrible and all this negative energy as I want. But that's because I was raised in an environment of drama and tension and issues. And thank God I met this woman, because she's like,
I'm like, how long we gonna be sitting there, babe? Because it's getting wet in there, like, can we get out of your pile of cries? But anyways, that's one of the things that we discover about one another. But I needed somebody, and I need somebody like you to be able to be emotional, for me to be able to break down and be I do. Like, you listen, you're
I know.
Rocky is he's like the best girlfriend you can. I mean, and he's.
Hey, I can girl talk with the best of them.
He's like the best husband and girlfriend I've ever had. We get our nails done together. We talk about what preacher we like and what sermon we listen to, and who I mean, it's everything. We talk about what colors we want. Like
clear.
We talk about what kind of
clear.
Yeah. He likes clear. I like blue. I have blue right
way
now.
Too much information. That's intimate.
I wasn't even talking about nail colors.
That is really intimate.
I wasn't talking about nail colors. I was just talking about colors, like what colors we want in the house or anything. Like, we talk about everything.
You got to put that in context, love.
Sorry, I was
making people be like, all these.
No.
Okay.
But okay. I mean, you know what? Nowadays I see men, they color their nails, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, and they're heterosexual, so it's not.
You do you.
No. I'm just saying, like, it's. I think we are in a place now where you are human and you do what you want with your human space, and as long as you are not taking that and bringing it on to someone else, you own it, you claim it, and that's okay.
Keep it intimate. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We're going with clear people.
Anyways, so we've had a very interesting 5 years, and I'm looking forward to the next, forever. But one of the things that I would say is, in my relationship, one thing that I recognized was, as long as we were willing to be each other's friends first, as long as we were willing to see respect and to give each other respect, then there was always an opportunity to, for love. And so trust, respect, and love are the things that we that keep our relationship going. So I have such a high level of respect for Rock because of how honest he is. He is the most silly person that I know, but Rocky is the most genuine and the most honest person that I've ever met, and I don't take that for granted because it challenges me to bring my best forward because I know he deserves that, you know. And one of the biggest things in our relationship was when Rocky broke down to me, you know, and cried about not about him not loving himself. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that he had not yet processed and really understood that he was no longer in the service. It was almost as if somebody just left all of his brothers and he's just out in this space and he's looking left and right and he doesn't know which way to go, you know. And it's like they just threw him out there with regular people, you know, because that's the way I really looked at it.
God forbid.
And you know, but I saw so much more, you know, and with that, just because I was able to see much more, that was hope, you know, in there for him to start to take a little bit from that and build from it and recreate himself, you know. And now you can't tell him shit. Excuse my French. It's like now he's
No, I mean,
we're constantly working on it.
the first, I would say like definitely the first 3 years of our marriage relationship, I knew within the first time I met her, I knew I wanted to marry her.
Yeah,
like,
I think
within
we both
3 months, I told her, and
We
she was
both
like,
knew.
she was still saying it was infatuation.
Yeah, because he had a lot of, you know, because you had a lot of growth to do. You know why? Because you came to me with, you know, like the we talk about this later, but the head of the household, and I was like, you're not a head of the household yet, you know. That was the whole thing.
Can you
'cause, know, he's a
imagine
church
someone
man.
who was raised on romantic movies and all that girly stuff to come to someone who's like, he was in facts and it's like, all right, cool. You're a male. That passes that question. Next question is, and she would just be like, what do you believe? Why do you believe? What can you do? No, you're not there yet. And she held me accountable. And it wasn't like she was like, if you don't, here's my checklist if you don't meet it. No, it was everything that I was saying that I wanted to do. And then a little bit past the wine and roses stage, it was, all right, this is reality.
I mean,
now
I wanted
what?
you to know that marriage is a lot. Like, it's not just, okay, you know, we're young and you look good, I look good, let's get married. Is that we're going to have tough conversations. We're going to have to sit down during those tough conversations. You can't pout and run upstairs, you know. Like, if you say that you want to be a husband, head of the household, protecting me, then I need to feel protected. I need to feel like I can have a conversation with you, and you may not like what I say, but you respect me enough to have the conversation with me. Now that's the head of a household. That's somebody that wants to marry. That's somebody who understands what that is. You know, like it's not Hollywood. Like, let's be real.
Not at all.
And I wanted to make sure that we were both, you know, committed to that.
Like both on the same page, and
Yeah.
like both equally yoked. Like, and when we first met, you know, and the first 3 years, it was like a steady campaign. One for me because I still saw Michelle as a rival, and I didn't realize it until later on. Like in my mind, like every day, like she was the enemy, and the enemy, not in like a really bad way, but she was in the enemy. She was like the enemy in regards that my goal was to make her happy. But you know, we'll talk about that later. But eventually, it got to the point where I understood, like, you know, it's not me versus her, or me making, like, in a competition to do everything right to please this woman. It was the reason why mattered. So it's no longer like you're my opponent. It was like, all right, you're my partner, and because of what we're growing together, and I love you and I care about you, like we're equally yoked. We're doing this together, and I'm not trying to appease you. I'm doing this because I genuinely want to, you know. And that is when the shift started. But it still took some time from there. But I would say that is when the shift started. Because it took me a while to not look at you. I'd been in adversarial mode. You're either with me or against me for so long. And I would fight you on things that you know, like, because you always came from a point of like growth and maturity and let's do this better. In a realm, and when I say in a realm, in an area of my life that I had never like intentionally focused on, and been like, you need to work on your emotions. You need to work on your communication in a way that's more intimate, that's more direct. In your personal life, these are certain goals that that you need to attain, like to be a husband, to be a father. Like she would throw questions at me sometimes in situations that we didn't have yet. Like, if like, would you do this in front of your child? Like, to me, I feel like that's an unfair argument. That's an unfair. I'm like, I'd be looking around like, what child? Be like, this. Give me a scenario that makes sense. That's in the current realm, but it didn't work.
But I mean, my thing was, I was always like, you
came from a point like, and I'm sorry to cut you off, like, but you came from a point of like of reality. Like, it was a hard reality check, and I feel like if more relationships have this or had that in their relationship, had a woman like you. Or women knew the questions that they need to be holding their men accountable to and not getting married up until, and that's essentially what happened. It was like, babe, when you met me, you gave me a list of who you were with your credentials backed, and you said you offered me A, B, C, and D. I didn't force you, I didn't push you. This came out of your own mouth. And I'm holding you accountable to what you said and what like essentially what you promised, or in this case, what you said you wanted to offer me, because I moved forward based upon what you presented. And the reason why I respect this lady so much is, and I was also extremely stubborn. I was like, until you tell, and we got to our points of the relationship where I was like, unless you tell me this is over, let's keep going. She's like, I'm not done. I'm like, all right, neither am I. And we continued to work on it, and it wasn't always sunshine and roses. There was a lot of difficult conversations. There was a lot of me growing up, getting over my emotions, handling my own stuff, which was a form of intimacy into myself, because we would have to have conversations and talk. And at first, and I had like a short. I wasn't geared for having a very personal conversation that was I would say, it caused me to be honest and hold myself accountable in a very personal way on things that were deeply uncomfortable to look at, hold in the mirror, and then also talk to you about, and like own my own bullshit, own my actions, my my mistakes, and my point of view, and why I did what I did. And then turn around and eventually have to fix that. But the point was, I wasn't used to that, and so I would usually, I'd walk away, I'd be upset, I would be in my own mind, overly much.
I remember thinking, if you want to marry me or anybody, you're gonna have to have these conversations. So let's go, let's have it, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna love you. At the end of the conversation, I'm gonna love you just for choosing to have the conversation, for wanting to grow through the conversation, and for choosing me to have the conversation with. Like, that to me alone was big. So,
but you still had to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And the issue was this. I'm generally, I would say, I'm mostly ruled by logic. I will be emotional, but when it gets to the point where I'm finally ready to actually be conversational and have a logical conversation, the second she brings logic to the point that makes sense, I both love it but hate it. I hate it when I'm wrong, but I still love it because it forces me to grow. And she's the type who would say that very thing, be like, look, you're gonna have to deal with this at some point in your life. So if you don't deal with it with me, that means we're probably not gonna be together, because there's certain things in life you can't get past unless you own up, man up, woman up, whatever you want to call it. As long as you have to own whatever that issue is what I'm trying to say, to be politically correct. You have to own that issue, and you have to confront it, and you have to be responsible. And responsibility sucks like a mother, because you gotta be humble. You gotta shut up and do the right thing. You gotta learn to bite your tongue. And you have to be disciplined. And some of those areas I used to be good at, and now I'm having to rebuild those old my old ways in a positive manner. But it still was work. It still sucks. I still don't like it. I still have my wife who would tell me, so now we're married, and things kind of shift after you're married, because now you're like, it really matters, and you get to the whole, your partner thing. But and that intimacy, like, it feels great to talk about it now, even though the things that we talk about are still uncomfortable, like, to tell the world and be like, hey, I want you guys to know I really struggled with this. And I really want you to forever be able to put it on replay and be like, put together a compilation of all the most embarrassing things. Because I know that's going to happen at some point. I'll just be like,
That's okay.
Well, be
I'm
like,
gonna love
all
you
right,
through it. I'm
she
gonna
still
love
loves
you
me
through
through
it.
it. You know, but
That's
like,
all that matters.
but this is what people need, you know, need to see, need to talk about, and have those conversations, because they're not sexy and it is uncomfortable. But if you're both willing to stay and have that awkward conversation, you eventually get through it, and it will no longer be awkward, and then you get to the solution or the underlying issue, which will allow you to fix it. And I unfortunately had a lot of underlying issues, and some of them were linked to like some of the same issues I think were linked to the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we also have a lot of similarities, so it made it easy for me to like look
I
on the
forgot,
outside.
yeah.
You know, like we're both, you know, children of immigrant parents. You know, we both have very, you know, our parents have a lot of similarities, you know, in how they raised us, and you know, and how we are as a family, you know, large families. And so there were a lot of things that I also that I find together we were, it's almost as if we were bringing each other comfort to a certain degree, you know what I mean, like understanding.
Yeah. I think I know what you're
I mean,
saying.
anyways, for me, I felt comfort. You know what I mean? Like I felt like, hey,
We
this
had
person can.
like a lot of the same. We had a lot of we had a lot of same similar situations, just different. Like like there was like things were just, it was like a coin was just like, this is different, that's out of place, but it was enough in common that it was that we were like,
Maybe the emotion that you went through was similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like so for me it was like, okay, so you will understand, but you know, like, oh wow, oh your parents went through that too. Yeah, mine did, but this is how we, you know, this is the way it happened here, and then you're like, oh, this is how it happened here. So it was like, okay, cool. So there was a lot of that also helped to you know, solidify our relationship, or just to kind of bring some level of like it's worth, you know, continuing. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of other things that were worth, you know, that were worth us you know, staying together or working it, you know, working it through. So like I said, every time that I would say, okay, this is, you know, this is it, I can't, you know, work like this, I would remember he's the kindest, you're the most patient person with me, you're the most caring person with me. You put up with, you know, me when I'm competing and I don't even know what mood I'm gonna be, you know, in the next 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know. So it was a lot more to look at, you know, than what was on the surface. You know, there were when we opened our door and we closed it, there was so much happening there, and you were doing so much of it. You know what I mean? So for me to just toss that out and be like, oh no, like none of this matters because he doesn't have A, B, C, and D, that would be totally unfair and ignorant and selfish, you know? So
Yeah, and you would tell me that when you would talk to me, and you were like, "Babe," and all right, so don't forget that, been there, done that. Remind me of that statement. All right, but so what she's saying is absolutely right. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff, and we did a lot of activities together, you know, and you know, it made our life go. But with that, I would confuse the fact that we were staying busy and we're always doing something as like, I use that as an excuse to not like work on intimacy or to work on some of my problems. Because I'd be like, well, we're always doing stuff, so I don't got time to talk about this right now because we're here. So it was almost like you're letting the big things of life, you know, like the practice. It's almost like the practice of being busy. Like how we be busy all day at work and get nothing done. It's like that. Like we're busy living our life, but the things that really matter we're just being not even swept under the rug, just kicked down the hall as we're walking. And this what is, and I think one of the things that really helped was Michelle was always the type to model first what she would like want you to do, which is so annoying. I'm just gonna be honest with you, it's so annoying. But I love it because like because what she would do is she would model it, and then when we get into an issue or we talk about it, she would be like, let me give you an example, and then she would break out an example from usually pretty previous time and be like, know how I do this and this for you, and be like, yes. It's like, well, see, that's what I want you to do for me. I was modeling it for you. That didn't really click till about year 4 when we were having a particularly deep conversation, and that for some reason it finally resonated, and I was like, oh my God. And I was able to look back through our entire relationship, you know, how your mind does, and see how in almost every situation she'd already modeled it previously to me. And that, and like that touched my heart so much because I've always been a person who's like, either model it or, show someone first type of thing. And then you can crucify him mercilessly. But that's not what she did. She was like, I already modeled this for you. It's not unreasonable. Because I always ask the question, well, how do you want me to do that, for you? Because whatever I was doing wasn't working. Then when she'd be like, well, I showed you, I did this for you in the own way. That was me showing you, like, that's an example of what we're talking about here. And that helped. And so the be there, already been there, done that. So the already been there, done that, that's where that comes in, is that she was, because she had already kind of tackled some of these like emotional mountains, I would call, or milestones, things that she had changed in her character, because she knew, like, if I don't change this will only make me, this will hurt me in the long run. It'll make me a worse human being, if you will. Or a bad partner.
Yeah, or it would stop me from achieving my goal, prevent me from achieving my goal, yeah.
And having her being able to sometimes be able to say, look, I've already done this, Rock. Like, you can fight me. Like, I see, like you're fighting me currently on this. However, I'm trying to tell you that I've been there. I got that t-shirt already. And this is what I learned from it. You can either learn from it or you can keep kind of doing your own way, but you're still going to come to the same conclusion. It's just going to take you longer. So can we hurry up and get there already? And sometimes I'd be like,
sometimes he was still doing his way. Oh my! Sometimes he would still be like,
usually it's just once or twice more, and then she would look at me and be like, well, I'd be like, all right. But like I don't know. I think it's this on the last one. But sometimes you can't see what you're doing wrong until someone starts pointing it out to you, and after they point it out to you, it becomes so much easier, at least for me to start catching myself doing it. And usually once I can start catching myself doing it, at that point I can start to take action on it and try to stop it. But if you're not aware of something that you're doing automatically in your, as part of your persona, your character, it's really hard, even if it's a negative thing. I think especially if it's negative, and it's humbling, and like, who wants to take advice from a woman all the time?
Everybody, we are the best.
I'm
just saying.
Look. Yeah. I mean, you are. It's okay. I don't want to do the stuff they have to do.
I take advice from you all the time, though.
You take advice from you. But in that regard, like you have to be humble enough to grow. You gotta want it, and I just don't want people to feel like it's easy, because it's uncomfortable, it's messy. Intimate conversations are gonna happen. Sometimes you'll get upset and you don't know why you're upset. And like for me, sometimes and I'm still working on this, is letting her know, is sometimes talking through why I'm upset. And if I'm like, babe, I'm upset about something you said, and I'm not really sure why, but I just know, it hit me some kind of way, and I'm still figuring it out, and if I come across that way, we don't have any problems. The problems always come out if I feel some kind of way, but I don't tell her. So I just try to just pretend like nothing's wrong, but she picks up on the vibe anyways, and then I just make things worse. And, then things kind of get out of control until usually I'll say something, or she'll say something like, hey, you're not being nice right now, or, something. But the point is, like once knowing is, I would say, half the battle.
I mean, I think that adults have to understand there are a lot of books written on relationships and love and stuff, but there is really no, concrete guide as to how to do this thing. So be willing to be patient, be willing to bring a better version of yourself, each day. Be willing to be uncomfortable, with some of the discussion you may have to have, because you will have to have discussions that may not be very pleasant. However, I think that when those discussions are done, you appreciate your partner a lot better, and even yourself for being, courageous enough to have those conversations, and be willing to discover yourself in a relationship. I think that that's also important. You can't keep. I don't think it's healthy when you're like, oh, this is just who I am, and you don't want to maybe, try new things or try new ways.
Ooh, I use that line all the time. I'd be like, this is just who I am. Like, until she asks that question.
Like, does that make that right? Like, okay, I get it, but are you happy with that? Oh, who you are, you know. And then if not, why not take this opportunity to work on it?
I'll answer it
Like,
because it's hard work, yo. And I gotta admit I was wrong. And then I gotta ask you, you know, I don't have to ask you, but it damn well helps. You're like, all right, what are your recommendations on how to make this better? How did you overcome this? Love of my life.
it's not always me. I tell you, go to a therapist.
Yeah, she
You know?
was. She told me go to a therapist.
Go find a therapist, you know. But I mean, I mean, we're human. I learned to be graceful with myself. I learned to bring grace in my relationship. I always say just, you know, come with love, or, you know, give him grace. You know, Michelle, this could have been a tough day, you know, and sometimes I put myself in his shoes. I remember those days where maybe, you know, work didn't go the way you wanted, or, you know, you had a news that you had to process and you just haven't had time to process yet, whatever the case. So I always just give him that opportunity, you know, just give him grace first, and the space to talk before things can get out of line or anything like that. So but we're still growing in it. And
Yeah, I mean, I'll close it out with, like, I feel like one of the hardest things for me to do, like actively think when I'm upset, is to come from a place of grace, or to come from a place of love. And I've gotten a lot better at it. And I will say, if you can get your mind to start triggering, that's the water, triggering that thought pattern, or that thought when you're starting to get upset, like, all right, what is the goal? Can I come from love? Is this instructive? Do I need to just tell them, hey, I need a minute here because I'm a little upset right now? You know, I feel like for me, that really, I know it helps me come from a better place, because I'll think, and I'm smiling now because I'm even thinking like even if you get that right, you would come from a place of love, and know what the goal is. The last one I would say is look at your energy, because you can come from a place of love and be like upset love, like stern love. My wife hates stern love. She's like, I don't know you. You're not my husband. You're not my man.
I can feel your energy. Like I can feel
him.
I can feel this man.
I would almost get into another tiff all on my own. I won't say nothing to my wife because, you know, I know what she's going to say. But in my mind, I'm like, are you serious? I'm here to apologize, or I'm here to help you.
But
I'm here to help you.
I accept your apology all the time, but I let you know, like, babe, you know,
like,
you're
she want to feel the love. Like I can feel your energy, and I'll be like, so it's not enough that I say it. It's not enough that, you know, I'm here.
No, don't say that. It is enough that you say it. It is enough that you're there. But I want you to be mindful.
But I want them to know, like, yo, like.
No, it is enough, because when you say it's enough, it's like I don't accept it. I always accept it.
It is enough. But for the best all around experience, I would say that one should check their energy. Check, are you coming from love and coming from good energy is two different things. So
here's why I say that. Remember the reel we watched earlier when they said that when men apologize to women, so we watched the reel earlier, and it showed a woman apologizing to her man. And, you know, she comes there, you could see he's, you know, he has the face, he's not really, you know, feeling it, but she holds him and he holds her back and he kisses her, and it's like, okay, you know, apology over. He comes and he apologizes to her, and she's like, I ain't got time, you know, it's something like, you know, go back, or, you know, it was just funny. Like she wasn't ready for that apology. So what I say is that I don't do that. I used to that. I totally used to do that, but I recognize that it wasn't wrong. It wasn't right. The fact that he actually, whether he wants to apologize or he recognizes that he has something to do, the fact that he's coming in there and starting to make that effort, I acknowledge it. Now that's my opportunity to actually now process with him. So I'll hold him, you know, and be like, all right, are you sure, you know, you're apologizing? You know, I can feel you're still a little tense. And then he'll get mad because he's like, I'm apologizing and you still asking for more, you know, and then we'll talk about it, you know, and usually by the end he ends up with that smile.
You want to talk about it.
Because I want you to smile. Because you
know, let's be honest, like sometimes you apologize, you don't really feel you're wrong, but you like, all right, I'm apologize because I know.
Who can give up that smile? I just wanted to smile. I'm like, all right, if you're apologizing.
This is the litigious part of me coming
like
out.
If you apologize,
I'm like, look,
smile.
let's get to the point, yo. I want to discuss the point. I want to know I'm right or wrong, and then we can move on.
How can you apologize and you still want to know if you're right or wrong? Like, you're apologizing, so let's kiss and make up. Like,
but then you go ahead, you open up the energy question, be like.
Because you apologize with a stern face. I just want you to smile. I'd be like, babe, are you really apologizing?
I mean, like, I'm apologizing, but like I'm apologizing because I know I'm wrong. but inside I'm still.
But you don't like the fact that you're wrong.
Yeah,
that's the ego.
Inside the ego is still like rampaging around, and like I'm upset.
So that's why I
like
talk
this ain't
about
right,
it.
but we're doing it anyways. You're like,
so that's why we're talking about it, because I want you to recognize that I know that apology, right? Like I know that's the
she
ego.
knows. She tell me. And I'd be like, so now I won't even apologize. I'll just tell her like, look, I know I'm wrong, but my energy is wrong. I'm not in the right energy. I'm not here.
Exactly. So I'd be like,
I need some time.
So I'd be like, fix your energy and come. I'm be right here, babe. No.
This annoying spot, like,
y'all wanted the feminine Michelle.
You see, and the fun, and here's the funny thing is, because that's the part where you know you're starting to change, because you know you're wrong. Like let's say your flesh self, your internal self is like, yo, we know what we got to do, but your outward self is like, yeah, no. You know, what would be a lot better is we go in there, we start swinging with the words, and we just be like, cut her down and say all kinds of crazy, like, no. You got to be like, put that guy in the closet. I don't know, not in the closet, because he's still there. You got to put him in the burn barrel, burn that guy, get rid of him. Like, yo, incinerate. You don't need that person. But until you can get to that point where you're having those, it's a good place to have those annoying conversations, because that means you're about to be a better person, quite honestly. And you have to give up the old, and we don't like giving up the old. We're resistant to it. We go through denial. It's like having a funeral for your old damn self, even though you know that shit is bad for you. You're like, yo, but wouldn't it be so much nicer? You're like, it would be, but let me.
It's comfortable, and you know it.
You're right. It's comfortable. You know it. You know. One of the things we get into, like when we're trying to build that intimacy. And sometimes I'd be like, well, I wanted to, like, and this is after the argument is over, right? And you're in that good space. And I'd be like, well, but I wanted to come and talk to you and just wrap you in a hug and tell you I was sorry. But that doesn't work. She's like, did you ever, and she floored me the first time. She's like, did you ever try it? I was like, no, I was scared of you.
He literally said that. It's the reason why I cannot be that hard Michelle anymore, okay?
Like, if I come to her and she does that, you see me in the house, but I'd be silent. I'd be like, I'd be it might be a week.
I don't do that anymore.
No, you don't.
Because I learned.
No, you don't. So give me no excuses.
The minute you told me you were scared of me, I was like, what?
I was like, you're very intimidating when you're upset.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm frightened of you. Not like you're gonna hurt me or anything, but you get disappointed. Your woman's upset. Man, any man will tell you there ain't nothing worse than your girl upset with you.
Oh man,
like your life is not
right.
Your life is not right. And I would put this. I don't know if it's true, but I would say the more messed up his life is when he's upset with you is that to me is conversely related to how much he loves you. Because if a man loves a woman truly and you guys are upset, his day is not going to be good. But if he can just go have a great day and come home whistling and singing Dixie, and he's legit.
He could be faking it. Maybe he just knows
No, I'm
how
saying
to
legit. Like you pick up on that energy. You know, is it fake or is it real? But I'm saying like my days were terrible whenever we fought. Like terrible. And I worked 10-hour shifts at that point. And I was like, I come back and we finally make up and talk again. It was like the best thing. It was like sunshine. Just
I bring you sunshine.
You bring me sunshine, babe.
Okay. You bring me sunshine.
But man, she bring me some storms and tsunamis. I'm telling you.
Why can't we just leave it at sunshine?
But the funny thing is, like, a lot of that stuff, like we can laugh about it now, but when we talk about it and we work through it, a lot of that stuff was all in my own mind. It was right up here, like I was causing 100% of the problem. Well, 90% of the problem, right? There had to be a little seed to get kicked in there. I'm not saying I wasn't responsible for some of it. I'm just saying, like,
I don't think it was up to 90, but
the point is that whatever the percentage is, there was fault on my end.
It was fault on mine too.
And there's one of those things like, and when that's going on, it just your life ain't right. It's chaotic.
But we're better. We're better because we can communicate now. We're human. We are not perfect. I discover him, newly every day. He grows every day. I grow every day. But we are committed to finding out what that growth looks like and who we are, with each other. And I think I think as long as when you wake up with that person, you want to learn them again that day, that's exciting. And you do what you need to do to, to keep that going. So, yeah.
I think the interesting thing is, like, as you get older, And then the conversations change. The intimacy only grows deeper, but you still have the same conversations, but now they're different. Same topics, different person.
Yeah, because it's a different person answering. Some more mature version of yourself. It's yourself that has experienced maybe other things, newer things. Yeah, so which is why you should have the conversations consistent. Just because you had a conversation 5 years ago don't mean that you shouldn't have the conversation again, today. It's like it changes. Your points of view change, and you have partners who hold you accountable to something that you said or did 5 years ago, as if you weren't supposed to change. Like, well, you said we could do this. Well, that was 5 years ago. We've gotten closer, or whatever the case is. Like, no, I don't want to do that anymore, or whatever the case is. But anyways, that's for another topic.
That's for another day.